Made in China. What percentage of the things that you have bought recently you think were made in China? I had the privilege just recently of spending about 12 hours in Michael's. Was it 12 hours?
10 hours.
I stand corrected. It just seemed like 12 hours. I guess it was only 8 hours. So there, as much as any place, or maybe even more than some places, you pick up something and it says made in China. What percentage of the things you buy you think are made in China? How many of you think 50% at least? At least if you think at least 50%. You think more than 50%? Yes. What percentage you think? You think 60%? 70%? 75%? Lisa, 75%? Riddell says more than 75%. 85%? I went through a store just recently and I just started picking up stuff. The sporting goods area, the rods and reels, just start picking up stuff, looking on the box, you know, made in China, made in China, made in China, made in China. There's been a progression. There's been a progression of things. It wasn't always that way. I can remember quite a few years ago, you would pick up a product once in a while and it would say, made in Japan. Now that doesn't seem like a big deal now. But on the heels of World War II, it was a big deal. You pick up some little kid's car and you look down inside of it, you'd see that it was made out of beer cans or something, you know? Because they were very entrepreneurial and they started manufacturing stuff out of junk, and when they got through, they still had junk. And so then they would export it here, and it would first of all be the cheap toys and then more and more things. And I remember quite a few years ago when one of my friends bought a Japanese car. It was one of the first of my friends that I had that ever bought a Japanese car. And I said, what is wrong with you? And he said, well, my folks were missionaries in South America and they bought Japanese cars years ago and they worked real well, you know. And I thought at the time, I thought he was crazy. Because made in Japan was symbolic of junk. Not so good, not so good at all. Pretty low opinion of that. Then there were the products, eventually we picked up a few of them made in Taiwan. Well, I weren't real sure what to think of that. That wasn't Japan, that wasn't China, where, you know, what was that really about? But there were a few of those made in Taiwan type of thing, similar story. Then there was a period of time, we'd pick up a product and say made in Red China. Anybody here remember that? 3 of you remember that? Made in Red China. And you pick up a product made in Red China and you didn't want your friends to know if you bought it. It was almost un-American to buy something made in Red China. Well, then President Nixon came along and he visited the Chinese and told them some stories or whatever and talked through some things. And so then they began to drop the whole idea of putting red on there, and they just said made in China. Well, that sounded a little bit better. At least they weren't Red China, right? So then it began to say made in China, and more and more and more. And then a few made in Mexico. Once in a while, something made in Sri Lanka. You all know where Sri Lanka is, right? Once in a while, maybe a shirt made in Indonesia, or a wallet or a belt you want to buy, maybe made in India. Then there are some things made in Macau. Does anyone know where Macau is? I have no idea where Macau is. The only thing I know that makes it to our shore that's made in Macau is fireworks. Pick up fireworks, and on the box it says made in Macau, and for years I've looked at that and I thought, where in the world is that? But it doesn't matter because everything they make blows up. So it doesn't have to last. Well, not everything blows up, so that would be too good a quality, but most of it blows up. So it's not so much about the international politics of it all. The issue has been one of quality. If any of you have read about or have any inkling about the situation with Chinese drywall, bad scene, right? Very bad scene. My heart goes out to people, and some people are really messed up. It's a heartbreaking situation, and I don't know if there's any good way to resolve it for a lot of folks. If you're very familiar with the whole Chinese drywall thing, how does it make you feel about brushing your teeth with Chinese toothpaste? And yet, everywhere we turn, there are the Chinese products. But not so much just the quality, but the perception of quality. In other words, when we buy something, no matter where it's from, we want it to be genuine. If you buy something that's supposed to be wood, you want it to be wood. Joyce and I bought a bedroom set many years ago, and it looked like a lot of the stuff was carved wood and nicely done at that. And I always pride myself in being able to tell what is genuine. I'm probably not nearly as good at it as I think I am, because that time I got fooled. It looked like wood and it sounded like wood and all the rest, but it wasn't wood. And I really pride myself in knowing when something is leather. You know, I smell it and I scratch it, and if somebody's in the store watching me, they'll probably say, put that down if it's a security guy. But you want to know if something is genuine, if it's a belt or shoes or purse. I bought a Bible one time, inside it said genuine bonded leather. I don't know if you've had any experience with bonded leather or not, but if I would have brought that Bible this morning, I could show it to you. The cover is all falling apart. And it's not because I spent so many hours sweating over and handling my Bible, it's just it's bonded leather. It says real, genuine bonded leather. Well, it is genuine bonded leather. I noticed an ad in the paper today. There's a company that's selling these wonderful, wonderful recliner chairs, and they listed on there the very good price and the fact that it's bonded leather. Well, you get bonded leather, but it ain't what you're thinking. It ain't the real McCoy. So the shoes, the purse, the belt, we want real leather, not plastic or something else. We want quality. We want to get what we expect to pay for. One of the experiences I remember, when I lived in Southern California, one of the popular things, it was kind of a fad for a period of time, I don't think it is so much now, but you get in and you sit down in your seats, and at that time a lot of them were either Naugahyde or some form of upholstered plastic, and they're hot to sit down if the sun's been shining on them. And believe it or not, some of the cars didn't have air conditioning, even though air conditioning was invented then. They still didn't all have it. And so we had these little Datsun pickups and stuff, you know, with these hot seats. And so somebody came along and they remembered that a generation ago, the old farmers used to put sheepskin on their seats. And they had them on tractor seats and mower seats and baler seats, all kinds of seats around the farm. They had a sheepskin, a fleece. And so some company started providing, probably Chinese, started providing these sheepskin. And people found out if they sat on the sheepskin, it's much more comfortable, and it's a very comfortable thing to put on your seat. But before long, somebody came along with imitation fleece. And if you bought one of those thinking you were getting the real McCoy, it wasn't but one afternoon on a sunny day, and you found out you'd been snookered, because it wasn't what you thought it was going to be. Very warm, hot, sweaty reminder that you didn't get the real McCoy. So if you get plastic instead of wood or instead of leather, you may be upset, but you will recover. And we will get over some of these disappointments of not being able to tell what we're buying. However, if it's in the area of our relationships, not so simple. Not so simple. If you've ever had a real good friend that simply outright betrayed you, I haven't experienced it personally, but I've been very close to people who have been beat up and cheated by their closest friend. It's not so simple when a genuine relationship turns out to be hokey. Not a good thing. Not good at all. So we take that idea and transpose it over to our relationship with Christ. Here in the scripture today, there's this issue of the genuine relationship with God. Somebody asked our president recently, how did you become a Christian? And then he takes that news clip, and so then he began to explain in some terms how he became a Christian. Well, it's not some obscure issue. It might not matter to you very much how he became a Christian, but it does matter to you and to me. whether or not we know we're in a right relationship with God, whether or not we have the genuine article. It matters a lot to you and to me, whether or not we're in a right relationship. The scripture, at the beginning of the scripture we read a week or so ago, it says that your joy might be full. That's one of the reasons why it matters. If we're in a right relationship with God, there's a joy that's full. You say, is there a joy that's even full when you're depressed? Yeah, there is, but you don't notice it so much. When you're scared to death about work or a fractured relationship, or you're scared to death about some other things, is there a joy then? Yes, there is, but you have to reach way down to find it. But I would say in real trying circumstances, it's a kind of a joy that keeps you from the lowest pit of despair. It gives you a floor that's just doesn't let you go quite so far down. And down there, we wouldn't even call it a joy. I would call it more like, I don't know, kind of like a safety place, so that you don't hit the absolute bottom. But at other times, when we're not maybe so overwhelmed, there is more of an awareness. And even in difficult times, there can be an awareness that God is working in a very significant way in our behalf. In our behalf. I had a number of experiences down through recent years where something would take place and all of a sudden it would click. Oh, I prayed for that for quite a while. 3 or 4 other people, or so-and-so over here, prayed for this for maybe months or maybe even years. But people have prayed for this. They prayed in faith, believing that God would bring something to pass. So we have a scripture today continuing in 1 John, and it's about our joy being full. So we have to get to that scripture to see exactly how that happens. But before we do, let's pause for a moment in prayer. Lord, we gather today in your name. And as much as lies within us, want to set aside some of the most consuming thoughts or pressures we have, at least for a few moments, and ask your help. Allow us to sense your presence, your nearness, and be strengthened and be refreshed. So Lord, help each of us to simply say in our heart of hearts, Lord, I'm listening.